Good evening and welcome to Paxton Road TV, PRTvSpurs. Tottenham Hotspur 1, West Ham United 2. And as the spammers were singing yesterday, it's happening again, it's happening again. Tottenham Hotspur, it's happening again. We lost third game on the bounce at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Joining me to discuss, as always, is the one, the only, Sam_Spurs for life, and Mr. THFC. What's he put now? One club, two teams. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we feeling? I didn't want to do it yesterday because A, it got a bit too late when I got back from after the game, and secondly, straight after, we would have all been fuming. We would have been saying things that we didn't want to say. We've calmed down. We've had a breather. We've had a cup of tea. We've had a full night's sleep. We can now discuss it amicably. How are we? How are we both?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think yesterday's game, disappointing. Obviously, you're always going to be disappointed in losing to your London rivals, particularly West Ham. And yeah, it was emotional. You know, obviously, there's things that we've seen, a little bit of a trend, and there's probably different opinions as to what can be done. The biggest thing is the manager's opinion, and he wasn't happy with the result yesterday. So let's not cloud that. You know, he's a manager that wants to play good football, has a philosophy, and we're not going to sway from that philosophy. But he doesn't just accept losses, and the way that we have lost in the last few games, Manchester City aside, possibly isn't acceptable. So we need to talk about that.
Absolutely, we will as we go further into the show. Sean, how are you feeling now? Have you sort of recovered?
Recovered. That's an interesting choice of word. I mean, we do speak. I mean, we might fall out, but we're always amicable on this channel, and that's the best thing about this channel. We can have sharp differences, but you know, we still remain friends. I mean, you've had time to reflect. I've caught up on. I've read lots. I've listened to lots, and you know, as you do after every game, you like to get a feel for the game. And does that coincide with what you think, or does it confirm what you think? Or so yeah, let's get into it and discuss it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said, had we done this last night, it would have been effing and blinding, and we probably would have fallen out, and everybody was just because listening to it on the way home, people were just going ape on the radio. Jamie O'Hara was going mental because Cundy was absolutely ripping him to shreds. And then Twitter, social medias, the papers, everybody's at it. I've had all the gooners at me today, you know. And even when you sit back and you think about it, and, you know, like Sam said and what Postecoglou said, I mean, that we'll talk about what he said after the game as well later on. So it's all good. If you're just joining us, please make sure you smash that subscribe button on PRTvSpurs and Paxton Road TV. I know you're already on Paxton Road TV, guys, but smash that like button on PRTvSpurs because we're going to move across there at some point. So we need all of you to come and join us. Come and join us. We're your Paxton, Super Paxton. So come and join us. And carry on with your comments and we'll come back to you. Right. So we will obviously start off with it's what it is, stats. It's all about stats. Right. Now, I don't know about you guys, right? And we've done the preview show, and I've got to hold my hand up. My son did say that Højbjerg was going to start, and I laughed at him and I ignored him. And I did want Johnson to start on the right. He started on the left. Kulu again on the right instead of wherever. We'll talk about that as we move along. But West Ham United coming to our stadium, a lot of people weren't not happy. A lot of West Ham fans weren't optimistic about getting a point at our stadium. Now, these stats, yeah, Sam, I know sometimes we always say stats don't lie and stats don't mean anything, but 75% possession to their 25% possession, right? And from the moment that game started, you could tell West Ham were going to do us on the counter, whether they've had a word with Emery and whatever, and the rest of them. They probably thought, let's give Spurs the runaround. Let them run around for the first 45 minutes and we'll come back at them. 23 shots, 11 to theirs. 7 on shot target for us. They had 5, of which they scored 2. And corners, 8 and 4. So let's just discuss these 4 first. And then I've got a couple of other little bits that I want your input on as well. So Sam, 75% possession at home against West Ham United, who were very poor. That's about right, yeah? Was we expecting that? 23 shots and 7 on target?
Yeah, as I said, these stats are always going to look very positive in terms of what they show. They show if you're looking for a team to be in control of a game, possession usually dictates that. If you're looking for a team to be dominant on attacking, shots on goal usually dictates that. Clinicalness, shots on target dictates that. And then corners obviously shows that you're in that attacking half, getting more opportunities from dead ball situations. None of these things matter when you put the actual score of the game down. And that's the whole point of this. You know, we're seeing very similar stats in a lot of the games that we're playing this season. And yes, there are circumstances behind the results. But my concern is a team can come to ours, you know, have 25% possession, but get 11 shots at goal. That shows me that, you know, 11 shots at goal in a normal game suggests that's quite good. Shots for West Ham United. And again, this is not symptomatic of just this game, but if we're looking at this game in isolation, those are fantastic stats. But when you put the one at the bottom, which is going to show the score, then obviously that's not what we want to see.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, was you expecting us to have 75% of possession before the game started yesterday? Or did you at least think with what West Ham had, they probably would have given? Because don't forget, they've got some quality, decent players, and they do like to pass it around. So was you quite surprised with these stats in the end, where they only had 25%, 11 shots, of which 5 were on target, and mainly second half?
Yeah, I mean, both teams, it was like Jekyll and Hyde performance. I couldn't believe how passive West Ham were in the first half. I mean, they kind of hung off us, and we passed around them quite comfortably. You know, I suppose most of our shots came in that first half. I'm surprised that West Ham had 11 shots, because when I think about particularly think about their 2 goals, they were gifts. They were gifts to them. I don't remember Vicario having to make too many saves. It is one of those games where you know, as Glenn Holloway used to say, I'm left scratching my head, you know, because I expected, you know, maybe West Ham to have 35%, maybe 40% possession. It's a London derby after all. But I mean, to me, the only thing that was any different in the second half, apart from our performance falling off a cliff, was that West Ham got a bit closer to us.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't see them cutting through us at will. I mean, and that's borne out by the calamity of the goals that they scored. We presented the goals to them. It wasn't through any brilliant move of theirs that they scored against us. But as soon as it got to half time and there was only 1-0, you just have this sinking feeling. And those first 5 minutes of the second half, where West Ham, obviously, Moyes had got into them and they started getting closer to us and putting the foot on us. We're going to players who are injured recently, but to me, that was the major difference, that they just stepped it up a bit, but they still didn't cut through us at will. You know, less people can point that out to me. We gave them their goals.
Do you know what? 100%. I totally agree with you. Let me add these extra stats as well, then, Sam. I'm showing both of you. 988 touches, Tottenham Hotspur. 449. Yeah. If I'm correct, and my maths is correct, if you double 449, you get 9. No, you don't. You get 998. So we're 10 short. We're 10 short. So we had almost double the touches. 784 passes to their 251. Right now, I want you guys to talk to me about this in a minute. The passes, 784. How many of them were actually going forward? Tackles, obviously 18 to their 23, and clearances, we had 12. They had 27. 784 passes. But how many of them, in your opinion, and you both watched the game and I watched it, was going forward? I personally think there was a lot of them going side to side, backwards, forwards, backwards. Not enough in that final third. Sam, what did you think? What do you think of that?
Yeah, so there's a reason for the high number of passes. We try to control games. The way you can control games is by keeping the ball. That's Pep's philosophy, but it's not just Pep's philosophy. Obviously, it's the philosophy of keeping the ball. That allows you then to control and dictate your movement and all the rest of it. So that's what we do. What happened in the first half, West Ham couldn't even get near us, and we were passing it around, and we, as Sean said, we were getting a lot of opportunities in that first half through the control possession and beating their presses, and they couldn't. Even David Moyes came out at the end and said, wow, one of the best teams that they've played all season, and they can just break past you. So he didn't know whether to press or to drop off. Second half, they thought, hold on a minute, this ain't going to work. We're going to drop off. So if there's a low block, you're going to have to try to create those opportunities in that front third, and that's why the pass rate is as high as it was. They're waiting for their opportunities, so their pass rate is low. And they did break at us, but it was from a more transitional perspective. Because of the high line, that wasn't a problem, in my opinion, yesterday. The problem came from mistakes. But there's a worrying trend in the fact that our strikers or front players at the moment aren't clinical enough. And if you compound that with the fact that we haven't got as good a defence as we had at the beginning of the season, if we don't get it at like 2-0 at half-time, you're never, ever going to be... I was the same. I knew it's only 1-0 at half-time. I don't think we're going to win this game. I thought West Ham would get opportunities and take them. I didn't think there'd be gifts, though.
Yeah. And we'll touch up on a couple of things you just said as well as we move on to the team and later on as well. Sean? Passes, touches. What did you make of it?
The thing is it's the, as you say, you've touched on it, it's the nature of those passes.
Yeah.
And sometimes those passes, it was, Sam's a big advocate of it, and I am too, but you know, he has a bit more experience of it. That in terms of the pace on the pass,
yes,
the passing was far too slow. And you know, that to me was down to selections and substitutions, I think.
Yeah.
Particularly in the second half. I mean, you know, obviously there's a bit of recency bias because it's the second half where the sort of, you know, the scales fall from your eyes and you go, why are we, you know, what's happened? What's happened from the first half to the second half? But it was the pace on the passing is too slow. And, you know, if you want to move a low block about, you need to put pace on the ball. And it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, personnel have got to take a share, but you know, I think it's also a little bit on the manager, and quite rightly he's angry because, you know, his whole edict up here was we don't stop, we keep going quickly, and we were taking far too long to get the ball forward, and our forwards were not finding space because, well, we're able to find space because we gave West Ham so much time to just sit on the edge of the box.
Yeah, and it was a matter of got to speed it up, then you got to slow it down, and that's what we was doing. But unfortunately, there was none of that speeding up going as well. In terms of the team, then, was either of you surprised that he went with the team he went with? So obviously, for me, the obvious change was going to be Romero. I've got it right tonight, lads. Yeah, it was going to be Romero, right? Obvious. But this is where I got baffled. Why Højbjerg came in, I don't know, right? I don't know. only Ange Postecoglou knows the reason why Højbjerg was in. I personally think Højbjerg had a nightmare, and that penalty when he fell down, which would have been given to us when he hit thin air, summed his performance up for me. And I think you guys have already mentioned it. The front three was just poor, in my opinion. All three of them were poor. I think Son was very poor. Johnson's passing was just, I don't understand it. I don't understand his passing yesterday and his shots as well. Talk to me about the lineup. Were you surprised with Højbjerg starting, Kulusevski going back on the right, Johnson playing on the left? I was baffled.
You want me to go? I'll go first. I think we just got to be a little bit careful, because some of the football that we did play in the first half was some of the best football I've seen us play at times, in terms of the way we controlled the ball and the way we got the ball into good areas. There is things in terms of that front line with the opportunities they take, and this goes back to what you were saying. Some of the decision making is to get it into a shooting position, but then to make another pass. We've got to start taking shots at goal. That, I think, is a tactical change without changing the philosophy that could increase our opportunity, certainly of winning more games at the moment. But at that lineup, I understand why Højbjerg would come in, because if I think about it, Brian Gill in this game against West Ham, a team, London derby, physical, they're a big team, they know what it's about. I don't think he would have probably stood up to much of that in the first half. I don't know. Obviously, that's all hindsight sort of stuff. So I expected this lineup to start. What I was surprised with, though, is the fact that, I guess we have got Richarlison back to a degree that maybe he may have started in this game. But then I thought Johnson's done well, Kulusevski's done well. Personally, I think Johnson's been better on the right-hand side when I've seen him play on the right. But because of that team lineup now, he can't do that, because Kulusevski playing in that number 8 role allows Johnson to go on the right, and then it allows Gill. So I think if we can get Richarlison fit, we might see Richarlison play down the centre and Son playing from that left, and then we're going to go with the right-hand side being Johnson. But looking at this lineup, I expected this to be the lineup to start against West Ham. And it was probably the lineup that was the strongest lineup that we could have put out.
But Sam, what's the point FC? Sean, I'll come to you in a second, yeah? Sam, and I want you to talk about this as well, Sean. Brennan Johnson got 40 goals and assist contributions for Forest in 2 seasons on the right.
There you go.
Right?
That's
so
why
why are we playing him on the left?
Well, I mean, it's fashionable, and I don't understand it, to have inverted wingers, and it's no different. Son is predominantly, slightly more right-footed than left-footed. He plays on the left as well. Kulusevski plays on the right, and what I don't understand is it's another case of square pegs in round holes. I could understand. I mean, it wasn't the team I would have chosen.
Yeah.
Højbjerg definitely wouldn't have been the one I think, because it's about he's good at wresting control from a team. This is what he did against Man City. Equally, I can understand why Postecoglou's gone with that, because he was concerned about control. But I think if it's it's not broken, I think Hill. I mean, obviously, this is with retrospect.
Yeah.
With hindsight, probably would have had a good first half, because West Ham were nowhere near us. And I think him on the left and Kulu in the number 8 and Johnson on the right would have given us more opportunities. But I can understand why it was chosen. It's not the team I would have gone with the same starting team for Man City.
Yeah.
And if you had to make the change, then Hill's obviously one to pull at half time.
Yeah. And David Clark saying obviously here, Ange should have kept Kulu in the number 8. The only reason I can see if Ange thought West Ham would be more combative side, therefore he picked Højbjerg, but it was a mistake. It's on the manager. It's a pattern. You will be wondering what are they doing within the week. They lack ideas. We are just getting carried away with the play. Footballing is about scoring. For me, right, that Man City game, yeah, Kulu was on fire with Lo Celso, right? So why not just keep it? It's West Ham. Yes, I know they've got Paqueta. They've got, apart from Paqueta and Alvarez.
But can we just
they
say
really
one
haven't
thing?
got- Sorry?
We actually won. The reason why we won the game is because we made the change to bring Højbjerg, and we were losing at the point, weren't we, to Manchester City? So the changes into that shape actually won us the game. So that's why I think he thought, from a solidity point of view, this would probably, as Sean said, about controlling the game. Because what we did when we brought on Højbjerg and had that set up, we had more control in order to be able to create them chances. The problem we've got is, as you said about the inverted wingers, we've also got inverted fullbacks. So sometimes you've got fullbacks inside, you've got wingers inside. I know they both go outside, but then you know as much as I do, as well as I do, that most of the time they're going to cut back in. Kulusevski, most of the time he cuts back in. You hardly see him go to the line. Now, I know he's done that, and I know we profited from that, but more often than not, he's going to cut inside. And Johnson, I think, is pretty much the same. If you put him on the right and put Kulusevski on the left, they can do both those things then. You can see what I'm saying? Because then they can go round the outside, but they can also do the inside cutting. So it's just, to me, that's just simple tactical change, which doesn't affect anything in your philosophy, but it allows you to play differently and allows a different look at what this team's going to be about, and also makes the opposition think a little bit more, because we don't make them think enough, I don't think, once they've got to grips with what we're doing. And when West Ham got to grips with what they're doing, they said, you have the ball, mate. We don't mind, because we know how you're going to try to play your patterns. And yeah, it's getting a little bit predictable at times, but still, there's ways out of this. And like I said, I think we just got to score the goals, man. We've got to take our chances. Come on.
And do you know the other thing, right? Is if we had started Emerson Royal and Davies as centre backs in that first half, it wouldn't have made a difference, in my opinion, because they weren't anywhere near us, like you said, Sean. They weren't coming anywhere near us. The problem we've got, and I said it in the stadium, and I said it to my wife and kids as well, these three, didn't have enough shots on goal, didn't bang the ball away. I said it's going to be Villa all over again. We don't take our chances. Teams are going to go in at half-time and say, do you know what, lads? And David Moyes said it. We're only 1-0 down. We can win this game because they're not taking their chances. And lo and behold, you start rattling us for the first 5-10 minutes. That's when mistakes starts coming in. Now, you know, Kulu and Johnson could have swapped a lot earlier, in my opinion, second half. Son, I have no idea what was wrong with him. I don't know if he's carrying an injury or something. Everything was just poor. And like What's the Point FC said, possession doesn't win you games. Goals and conceding goals wins and loses you games. At this precise moment, it seems that we're capable of scoring one goal in the first half, not bury teams. And then we're running out of ideas in that second half. Basuma, for me, is not looking the player that he was. I don't know what's going on, right? And I was watching him quite clearly yesterday as well. He did lose the ball a few times. But and I'll let you talk in a minute. The other thing that's really pissing me off, right? How many times did we get the ball at the back and we just went side to side to side to side because there wasn't, is it because there wasn't enough runners? There was no space? It was just going amongst themselves and Romero's just walking with the ball. And for me, if your centre-back's not showing a little bit of urgency, moving the ball, try and move it forward, for me, that's not right. He's got to have a little bit of pace. Other teams do it. What's your thoughts on that, Sean?
I'm reluctant to pile in on Romero because I think...
I'm not piling in on him.
No, but I think that's a tactic that we have deployed earlier in the season where Romero walks it. You know, it's very similar to what De Zerbi does at Brighton. That the centre backs put their studs on the ball in order to drag the players out. The difficulty is when the players don't come out, and they didn't come out. You know, they just held their place. Then we've got problems. I mean, Sam has already kind of indicated. Why don't Kulu and Johnson swap sides for 15 minutes or 10 minutes? just to change it up, give the fullback someone different to think about, put a bit of doubt in their minds, that maybe the player's going to go around the outside. Postecoglou's Celtic had players who could go to the byline, whether it was the fullbacks or the wingers. And we currently don't have those players in that position. We don't have, Johnson's right. We've already agreed a right-sided winger, so he could go to the byline there. And we want players on the edge of the box. We haven't got a midfielder that's, apart from Lo Celso maybe, who's capable of testing a keeper with a long shot. And most of our shots yesterday were powder puff. Fabianski was never really tested. He wasn't put in the corner or what have you. And we need to think about being a bit smarter in the during game management. I think game management is a big issue, and that's probably something. That's just me as a. I think Sam's probably got a better take on that than me, but I do feel that, changes, little, Johnson and Kulu changing wings if they're going to play Kulu on the. I mean, to be fair, Kulu had a good first half, I thought. He was at the centre of most of the good stuff he did, but in the second half, once Emerson got close to him, he disappeared for me.
Kulu again in that first half, amount of chances he had, the opportunities to shoot, but he decides to go for that pass, which sometimes wasn't on. Sam, what did you think of?
I thought he was going to add something to that.
No,
I thought he was going to say of something. I think we need to speak on Basuma. I think we do.
Yeah.
For me, up until Basuma got that fourth yellow card, and then he was on the cusp of getting that fifth yellow card, he kind of played within himself. Then he got the card, then he got suspended, then he's come back. And since he's come back, I don't think he's reached the heights. But since that point as well, obviously, we've lost Maddison, Sarska out of the team as well. My thing with Basuma is, as much as he's talented, I don't think necessarily he's a player in midfield that can be the only player in midfield that can then just take the game by the scruff of the neck. Yes, he can do some really good things and beat a man and do this, and he can do that as a contribution to the game, and he'll get man of the matches sometimes. But if you remember what we had, and I was saying this to you yesterday, Sid, he has Sarr around him, and Sarr allows him to have that ability to make them mistakes because he can do the legwork as such. Sarr's a 19, 20-year-old guy that can run forever. But Højbjerg's not. So it almost magnifies what he does even more. So when he does give the ball away, it's like, well, there's nobody here that's even going to be able to stop him from breaking us because we ain't got the pace to get back. The Celso's not the quickest in the world, although I think he played well yesterday. So again, looking at tactical changes that you could maybe affect, bringing Sarr into the game, obviously for the next game, I think it's going to be critical. Sarr and Basuma in that midfield, so Højbjerg midfield would be much better. And I think you might even play them starting from a 2 and then just play Lo Celso in front. Or if you're going to even be a bit more creative, you can then think to yourself, you could put Kulusevski in there and maybe bring Lo Celso on, depending on what you're doing in the game, because then you've got more attacking threat on the bench. And then you can have Johnson on the right, put possibly Son on the left, and then Richarlison. Again, another player we've got to talk about. But yeah, I just think we were unlucky in that game yesterday. And again, I'm trying to look at it more objectively. We gave them goals to them. If we go in at 2-0, that's a different game.
Of course. And with two games on the trot now, we've gone in at 1-0 when we should have been out of sight. Yeah. Then you let them go into the dressing room and try and work out, shit, guys, how are we now going to try and keep this game or a low score? But no, we're letting teams go in to say, guys, we've just had a walloping from these lot and they couldn't bury anything. They couldn't hit a barn door. We're in this, lads. Come on, let's get it. And that's what they've done exactly.
That's what David Moyes said. I listened to the interview on Prime afterwards, and David Moyes his eyes were like wide open. He's like, God, yeah, that was. he knew he got out of jail, but he
course.
realised as well that the quality of the football. But there was another good thing. Sorry to interrupt. There was another good thing that Roberto Martinez said on that, and it's something that we need to take this on board as well. And I think a lot of the managers have to. Don't get too high when we're doing really well, but don't get too low when we're not. And at the moment, I think we're going to, oh, we're great. Oh no, it's all the end of the world, and it's not. If you'd have looked at this in isolation of where we are now, beginning of the season, you'd have said that's where we should be. If you'd have said how many games should we have lost at this sort of point, 4 games. It's happening, this sequence, and we're doing this. Oh my God. But we're playing well. Take our chances. All of these games are different. If we don't start playing well, and I mean by creating chances, then we have got some problems.
Yeah, and I wonder if Sky have written to Guinness Books, because they would have probably changed it to Guinness Book of Spurs, because they keep coming out with records every time we get beat, you know.
It's like, it's like they make up some of these. I don't know what we do, and it's always us. It's always
I know.
us.
This is it, Sean. This comment then from Kevin Gonzalez. It's always the same story every year. We turn up against Man City, then we lose to small teams like last year against Leicester, and then the year before we lost to Burnley. So we do well against Man City, or we beat them, and then the following game we nosedive. I mean, this year, though, I think it's a little bit different. We should have won this game by half time. But is it like what Dino said right at the beginning? Yeah, good evening, panel. Did we run out of legs, ideas, or both?
Well, I mean, Anne just said, for example, that the substitution, which I didn't get, which was was taking Lo Celso off on 66 minutes.
Yeah.
Was down to Lo Celso's tiredness. Didn't look tired to me.
No.
He looked tired. He looked tired of having to find someone for players who weren't making themselves available or weren't disturbing their back line enough. So, I mean, that's all I could think was that. But it was. I do think it was ideas, and I do think things like, I don't want to repeat myself, but swapping the wingers for 50 minutes at a time, or just being a bit quicker with the ball would have made an enormous difference to us. But for me, Basuma had a better game than he did against City. And I think he was carrying that mistake against City on his shoulders last night. So he was maybe a bit conservative. But Højbjerg, too many touches on the ball. And by the time the ball left his foot, West Ham were, packed all 10 men behind the ball. It was just, he's not, do you know what? I would have rather had Skip than Højbjerg, because Skip can run and run and run.
It's amazing what we see in certain players at the moment, because I didn't think Højbjerg was that bad. I don't think the reason I think Højbjerg doesn't have as much time in this midfield is because he just hasn't got those legs. He don't have it. He's the one that always has to be the one that's making the fouls. You never see him run past a player to catch him back up. So once a player's gone, they've gone and left him. But yeah, he could be an upgrade, and him and Skip are probably fighting for a place as the next one to come in, because I think once Sar's fit and available, and I think he's fit now, he's going to be straight back in there, because he gives us that added dimension of having legs to be able to run about the pitch a bit more.
But did you see that as well towards the end when we went 2-1 down and we were about 10 minutes to go? We was attacking. Højbjerg got the ball, ran with it, and then he just passed it to no man's land. He just passed it to no man's land, and it was like, what are you doing? But he did that too many times, Sean. I agree with you. My boy was next to me. He was going mental every time. Like, why is he playing? Why is he playing? This guy should not be playing. He was going mental, right? So this.
I agree. No, I'm not going to say I'm a Højbjerg. I'm not saying that because I don't want people to think, oh, you want. But I'm just saying, it's like the same sort of comments you'd make for Ben Davies, and I think Ben Davies has played really well. But I know that he can only play up to a level. I think that's the same with Højbjerg at the moment. He's okay, but there's only a level that he's gone up to, and that athleticism isn't part of his makeup, unfortunately.
Yeah. Danielle Stewart, you're saying here. Go on, Sean.
I was going to say, pace is really, really important. Pace on the ball, with the ball, and in the legs.
100%.
100%.
To make to make Ange ball work, you need pace.
That's why
Højbjerg is not
no.
He's not an Ange ball player. He's very good at wresting control when we lost control, like I said on Sunday.
Yeah.
But when you start him with the game, I mean that air shot kind of summed it up for me, I'm afraid. You know,
well,
it was like
I feel
I know we've
really
all done it. You know, everyone does it, from a Sunday park player to professionals have all got examples of it. But I just thought,
and we're talking about pace, right? I don't think Kulu's the man for that right side. I don't think he's got the pace. Daniel is saying here, West Ham are not a small team. We just play a different way that can deal with the high line. Yes, you had a lot of the ball, but we were toothless. And we've been toothless against Villa at home. We've been toothless against these lot as well. So you is saying, Sam, the attack clearly let us down, yet Sam is talking about the defense. Right, Sam, substitutions, right? I don't know. I think, did you talk about the defense? Don't know.
No, I was just making a comment about a defender. I don't think I mentioned defense was the problem yesterday.
So I was baffled by the substitutions, right? And we've already touched on that. Lo Celso was our best creative player we've got in that team at the moment until Maddison comes back. You take him off after 60 odd minutes, right? We've touched on that. Fair enough. Richarlison then, come on. You said you want to talk about Richarlison. Now, for me, January, if them Saudis lot are knocking on the door, we've got to take the money. I'm sorry, because how many... I remember having these conversations. How many? Did you say 6 games, Sam, at the beginning of the season?
I think it was 5. I said 5 games.
So what are we saying now with Richarlison? Now, is it now time to count our losses with him, and it's not gonna happen in a Spurs shirt?
What I would say about Richarlison, I think he's an emotional player. He works off emotions, and confidence is a massive thing in football. And I just don't think he's had enough run to be able to gain that confidence. And when he's had opportunities, he's done what he did last night. Great opportunity to just come on as a sub and probably score a relatively easy header for a professional footballer. Now, if it's me or you in that position and we missed that, they'd say, unlucky, mate. I can't really say unlucky, mate, in that situation. That's what you're paid to do. Now, if this price tag of 65 million or whatever it is we paid for him is holding him back, it's going to hold him back for his career at Spurs, because that's every time he doesn't have a good season or every time he doesn't score the goal, it's Richarlison, the 65 million pound striker for Spurs. It's Richarlison who's Mr. He's not scored with his feet for us. That's how bad it's been. Do you know what I mean? This season. And now it's like, well, can you keep on giving this guy opportunities to prove himself? Ange is the manager. He knows best. He's really good at being able to create something from players. And we've seen all these improvements in players, but I haven't seen any improvement in this guy. And that's my concern. Everybody else seems to have improved in some way, shape or form, but he hasn't. Is that down to injuries? Is that down to his ability? Is that down to the fact that he's a 65 million pound man? Or he's just not good enough for us? I don't know, because he's playing as number 9 for Brazil, and you can't get into that Brazil team just off the back of, being all right. You've got to be a star. So he must be good enough in terms of his techniques and all that tactical and all the rest of it. But there's something about that tag and being in the position, he's not going to be clinical. So
yeah,
if the Saudis coming with half the money, take it, man, and get somebody else.
Sean, I want your opinion on that. And also, Dino saying here, we've just had a penalty. Would you give it to Richie?
To get his confidence up, would you give him the penalty?
Yeah. I remember they did that to Soldado and he scored. So
I know.
Richarlison.
Yes,
right.
I finally found a way of Sean not talking. Foot Richarlison.
No one knows what to do about Richarlison. It's so fucked up.
I mean,
it's just like, it's fucked.
Richarlison is not as good as Harry Kane, is he?
Of course,
we can agree on that.
100%, 1000%.
he had one chance. He had one chance, and he didn't score. But can you remember another ball being thrown into the air for him to get to?
Nope.
What is his strength?
Heading.
We've already said he scores with his head, he doesn't score with his feet. So is the blame purely on Richarlison or the fact that our players didn't play to his strength? I don't know. I don't know.
And this goes back to this thing about how we play, Sean. So as we said, we play to get to the byline, supposedly with Ange Ball, which we're not really going to need a player that has great heading ability. So we're not playing to his strengths anyway. And this is what I'm saying about players then in instances. I'm not talking about changing philosophies. In decision-making, in instances in games, we've got a player on here that only scores with his head. We got to fucking put crosses in. Get Johnson on the right, get Kudo on the left, and put fucking crosses in. Porro was doing that. If you think about it, we didn't have Porro on the pitch, we would not be crossing any balls at all. Pause. But what I'm saying is, that's what you've got to do. You've got to think about the instance in the game, the players on the pitch at the time, and try and do the things that's going to make him at least get an opportunity to do something in the game. He had one chance, as you said, Sean, but he missed it. That's going to be a problem for him. But we've got to play to his strengths as well. Put more 100%. Crosses in if you're going to do that.
Sean, before you continue,
I mean, it's only a half defence of Richarlison. I mean, I like him as a person. I like the fact that he's a Brazilian footballer who's not a fascist, for example. And I like the fact that he does good work in his community. He's grounded, but 50 million, 60 million, whatever the price was, it's hung around the neck of Tanguy and Ndombele. It's now hanging around the neck of Richarlison. Yeah. And I think, barring he scores a hat trick on Sunday against Newcastle, I cannot see a place for him in Ange Ball. Because the thing about getting to the byline is, it's not, as Sam said, it's not necessarily about headers, but it gives you the option. Do you pass across the 6-yard line, where you get a player like Son or Johnson to just tap it in, or do you play it to the back of the area where a Maddison or a Lo Celso could just ram it into the top corner? Yeah. That is Ange Ball in a nutshell, and we ain't doing it. And until we get to play wingers that go to the byline or fullbacks. Let's not let Udogie or Porro out of that. Porro doesn't go to the byline very much. Yeah,
but in Porro's defense, he's the one that puts the most crosses in our team.
Agree.
And we need crosses. So yeah, I think you're right. Because of this inverted stuff, you can't have both inverted at the same time all the time. You have to have one on the outside. Kulusevski, being an inverted winger, isn't going to cross with his right foot more often than not. So Porro's got to do that job. So that's, again, a slight tactical change. Get on the overlaps. Get him doing the crossing, because he's pretty decent from where he's that situation.
And something I just want to... Villa game, I think it was. Or was it the one before? We were pinging crosses in, right? We was pinging crosses in. Nobody was there, like you were saying, Sean. Nobody there to head a ball. We brought Valise on. Not one cross was put in the box. You've just brought in a 6-foot-odd striker onto the pitch. Yeah? You're not crossing the ball. You've got Son and everybody else in. Starting the game, we were crossing the ball. So I don't understand that, right? You've got players. Do it when you've got players that can head the ball. I totally agree, but we don't seem to be doing it. So
this and again, if I was a manager now, if I was a manager of Ange in the position, that's game yesterday. I've watched the video, I've watched it back, and I've seen what the situations, and I've seen these players on. I don't think Ange would say to any of his players, "Don't cross the ball, play Ange ball. We're going to get to the byline." He gives players the autonomy to make those decisions. So I would then look at the video and say, "Listen, this is what we're going to have to do more. If this player's in this position, this is what I want. Just get some more crosses in. We can still do all the stuff that we're doing. Just get more crosses in. Increase your percentage of crosses. If you've got a 6'4", 6'5" guy who wants to head, or you've got a player that's predominantly a header of a ball, if playing to their feet is not going to be their strength. So just doing that alone increases your chances of scoring more goals. And if we get the 1 or 2 goal up in a game, it changes the whole psyche of the other team. 2-0 up at West Ham at our place, they are not coming back from that. I don't care. They're not coming back.
All right. So Jay Ashraf is saying here, why do we get it so badly wrong with the 50 million pound signings and above? Dino Dinosaur saying, these buys have confused me. Gill, Ritchie and Johnson. Is it just... I think Richarlison, we were overpaid. Simple. Johnson, I still think we've overpaid, but how he was doing, and don't forget this was in the Championship, right? How many players have actually come from the Championship and then continued to do really, really well in the Prem? Johnson's young. There's a lot of people saying a lot of good things about him, and including that Gareth Bale. Johnson will come good eventually, but at this precise time, and we've asked this question, Angie's telling them to do what they're doing. Is it just now mentality in their brains? Are they now double thinking in their minds? What do I need to do? Do I follow what Angie's told me to do? Or am I now going to start doing this by myself? Some of them chances Johnson had yesterday, if he was in them Forest colours, they're in the back of the net. Guaranteed in the back of the net. But for some reason, I don't know what's happening with the front three. And I think if they're all playing FIFA, they want to do that sweaty goal, don't they? Or prime Barcelona. They want to walk it in. I don't know if you guys agree or not. Apart from Lo Celso, who wants to shoot from outside the box? Even yesterday, Lo Celso was giving it from outside the box. There's nobody else. Poro did it once. That's it. You know? So I'm confused.
We know that Basuma can't do it.
Yes.
I mean, Basuma has not got a long range shot on him. I mean, he did score for Brighton against us, but it took a wicked deflection, and that was the only reason he went in. Sarr has done it. He did it a lot for Metz. He's done it. You know, he takes shots for his national team. So if Sarr comes back, and you know, I hope he's back soon, then you know he will be that one. But you know, again, it's about being on the edge of the box, but also cutting the ball back to them. Because if you're cutting the ball back to them, it's very difficult for a central defender to change direction and block the ball. But we you know, like there was a shot. I remember a shot. Basuma had a shot yesterday. But by the time he got it, it was like Bowen was all over him because it was too slow. Too slow.
Yeah. So I don't want to have this tag of playing great football. I want to win games. That was what Ange said. I'm not bothered about playing good football. It's all about winning games. And my philosophy is winning games. So my question to you both now then is, what does he need to do now to start winning these games on Monday, starting from Sunday? And don't tell me the obvious one is score more goals, right? But what needs to be done now? This team, we're stuck with it until all our players start getting back.
I think you can make strategical and tactical changes without affecting your philosophy. We've already talked about some of those things. We said about Johnson, where have we seen him play at his best for us in any game this season? Apart from the one who's the Man City where he crossed it from the left-hand side, I've seen him be more effective on the right-hand side for us. So that could be a change. Tactically, put him on the right, put Kulusevski on the left if you wish. Or put Kulusevski into the middle, then you have maybe two in terms of Lo Celso and Kulusevski, but then who are you going to put in the midfield? So I think if Sarr's fit, I think you're going to have Sarr and Basuma and then Lo Celso. But then two wingers, I think you can make that change, is in short. The other thing I would suggest to the players is take more shots at goal. Just take more shots at goal. The more shots you take, the more chance you have of scoring. Now, I know we've created 20 and had 23 opportunities at goal in the West Ham game, but I don't really remember how many of them I was thinking, oh, he's done this, oh, he's made a magnificent save there. Or, you know, so there's shots that are savable and not clinical. So we've got to improve on that. So just the percentage of shots you're taking, but also the quality of the shots you're taking. And the other thing is, if you're going to bring on your substitution and you're going to make them changes, play to the strengths of those subs that you're bringing on.
Yeah.
Too many times we're going to bring on a Valise. We're not even playing the ball long to him. If you're going to do that, play up to him, play off him. But again, this goes away from the philosophy. But in the instant, the player that's on there play to their strengths. And it's not saying that we're doing that all the time. I've seen Vicario kick the ball from one half to the other because he has to at times. You're winning 2-1. It's 95 minutes. You're not going to play out from the back, are you? It's decision making. That's the other thing as well. Improve our decision making. With those you playing that back pass, again, Basuma making that pass in midfield is all about them thinking, I'm trying to do the right things based on the philosophy of the manager. No, fucking make the right decision at the right time. There's a player there 5 yards away, play the 5-yard pass, then you're playing out. You know, you can play a back pass, but is that the right thing to do at the time? No, I can turn out and he could have easily played that ball out to the left. Simple, non-things that don't take away from your philosophy that will make a difference in this. I'm tired. I'm bloody tired, man. I'm still so tired.
I wanted to check that I wasn't talking out of turn when I saw the comment from you.
That's what I didn't know who that was from. So
you, it said he's scoring goals for fun when he was at Brighton.
Oh yeah, I think it was.
He's got 3 in his Premier League record. He's got 3 goals.
Yeah,
he's got 3 goals. So don't give me that Basuma is a goal scorer. He's not a goal scorer.
That's right.
He's a creator. He's actually an assist to the assist. I think more than a goal scorer. So no, he's not a goal scorer. We need sharpshooters in our midfield.
Yeah.
Lo Celso, for me, well, obviously Maddison's number 1, but Lo Celso's not far behind. And I was looking at a clip. There was a clip on Twitter just before I joined the stream, and there was that the cross that Zuma put onto his own post.
Yes.
Just before half time.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and the shot was taken from behind the goal at the other end. And there's a point where Kulu is in the middle of the area with a clear space to hit the top corner.
Yeah.
And he makes that pass to Johnson.
This is what I mean.
And I think, you back yourself, hit the ball, have a shot. And I sometimes think, remember classically, under Wenger, Arsenal wanted to score the perfect goal. You'd see them, 15 passes and try and pass it into the. I don't want to see that because that's not, as Anne says, good football is 3 or 4-0 at half time, given the amount of possession and thing that you had yesterday. Yeah.
Listen,
100%.
I don't want managers saying they're the best team we've played this season, but we lost. I don't want them saying they're playing entertaining football, but we lost. I'd rather we play shit and we win at this precise moment, because these losses are coming thick and fast, and we've got to stop it at some point. Because yes, everybody's saying that January, this, that, the other, and I've already said it. There's going to be issues in January with players that we're going to get. Postecoglou is going to be the same as all your previous managers, where he'll have a list of players, but are they guaranteed to come? Who knows? Is he going to pay? Well, not guaranteed to come. Is Daniel Levy going to pay the money? So for me, with what we've got, they've got to start scoring goals. And Dinosaur here, look, McTominay, Man United's leading goal scorer. This guy must wear a Scotland shirt when he's playing for Man United, because he seems to be rattling goals in left, right, and centre. And the 3 points behind Man City.
Is Dino making a suggestion that are we thinking about a McTominay move?
No. He's just saying.
What do you think about McTominay who has goals? That sounds like a question to me.
Not for me.
No.
Not for me.
No, not for me. Sorry. If that was what you're thinking, Dino, no.
Sorry. So, at 55 minutes of talking, we could have carried on all day long. Let's sum this up then. Final thoughts and what needs to change for Sunday. Starting with you, Sean. Final thoughts, and then what needs to be done for Sunday?
I mean, the obvious one is score a second goal when you're ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm still on the balance of play. I'm still enjoying watching this team come together. Yes. What you have to tell yourself, and as Sam said, don't get too high, don't get too low. This is a project.
Of course.
The man at the head of the project has only been in place since July the 1st. We're not even at the end of the year yet, and he's less than 6 months into this project. January is going to be important. It will set difficult transfer window, and we've got a new team in charge of the transfers. So we'll see. Yes, I just want us to see a score and take more shots. Be brave, and take shots from distance as well. Deflections are really, really important. Look at the Celsius goal against Villa. Takes that deflection and it beats Mark Martinez hands down. So, I just want us to fashion more clear-cut chances and be quicker on the ball and put the pace on the ball. Let the ball do that's classic Tottenham. Fast movement of the ball. Let the ball do some of the running for you if you like. But
excuse me.
Just score and score often.
Yeah, that's it. If you're on top, see the game out, and then let them opponents' managers do all the thinking in the dressing room. Sam,
one of the positive things that I think for me that's come out of yesterday was the fact that Andrew was pretty much angry. You know what I mean? He answered that question in that Spurs interview to basically say, no, he's not happy. He wants to win. Is that going to make him change his philosophy? No, it's not. Is it going to make him think about the games a little bit more from a tactical perspective? Yeah, I think it will. I think he'll look at things like what we've talked about in terms of positions of players. He'll also be glad to have certain personnel back into that midfield. And I think the midfield needs to offer a little bit more protection as well to that back line. And maybe Højbjerg doesn't offer that. But also, we've got to minimize silly mistakes. All goals usually come from mistakes, but minimize things that we've seen. The Man City game with the Basuma incident. We've seen, the Doji do that yesterday as well. We've seen players getting themselves sent off, causing us problems. It's now about mentality. You haven't won in 5 games. The manager is now going to see if these players are mentally worth their salt. And some of them, we already know what that situation might be for them. Now let's see if the manager's been able to instill, because before we'd have been thinking, Conte's going to start playing really deep here. We're not going to see really deep here. However, I want us and everybody at the stadium to be behind the team, because that's the other thing. We have to make sure our ground becomes somewhere where teams don't want to come to. But at the moment, 3 home defeats ain't good. So, score 1 more goal than them. But, try and just keep on doing them stupid errors. Yeah.
Do you know what? I just want exactly what you both said, but I just want them to fucking shoot. Exactly. Forget this. Kulusevski put the defender down the other day. Instead of shooting top corner like you were saying, Sean, he decides to go and find another player outside the area who's got 3 players around him, and then we lose and then goes back and whatever. I just want them to get the game by the scruff of the neck. You're on top of teams. City, Liverpool, sometimes even Arsenal. When they're on top of teams, they put games to bed.
Fabianski was only picked because their first choice keeper injured himself the day before.
Yeah. And he won't have
he's never going to have a more gentle reintroduction to the Premier League than what he got from Tottenham Hotspur yesterday.
Exactly. And it's like I said on the group, innit? We've done all the huffing, we've done all the puffing, but we didn't blow that door down at all. In fact, he was probably sat there with his cup of coffee and the cigars, chilling, because that's how it is. So,
our manager is angry now. Our manager is angry, and I think he would have made sure. Because did you see the Son interview after the game? Son was. It was, before he's like talking about, he wasn't like, no, we didn't play really well because we didn't. Yeah. So that message has got through to the players. That must have come through from the manager. So taking all that on board, the effort levels, we know 100% will be there. We just got to take our chances. If we can go and score the first goal, we should win. That's funny, isn't it? That's a funny one. Score the first 2 goals, then we might win.
How about if we concede the first goal?
No, I don't want to see
No.
that. I don't want to see that.
I'm just saying, I'm just reverse psychology. But Newcastle's going to be one of them teams where if they're on it, they'll be on it. If they're not, they could be got at. Look at them, Everton yesterday. But we'll discuss that on Friday or Saturday when we do the preview show. Guys, anything else to add before we end the stream?
Yeah, it's Friday today, isn't it?
It's Friday.
So
Yeah, it's always the darkest before the dawn. So don't worry, things will get better. We're significantly better than last season. So let's just tweak and seek that second goal.
My other thing that I wanted to say is, this is what I said on the group yesterday. In the first 10 games, we've seen the future. Now it's reality. That's all we've got to think. Now it's 100%. Reality.
Sean, Sam, you've just reminded me, innit? I keep thinking the game's next Sunday. It's this Sunday, innit? Right.
That's what I said. Today's Friday, so our preview shows, unless it's a bit later on, which I don't think it's going to be.
It's not going to be. Tomorrow. We'll have to do a preview show tomorrow. I just, this midweek games have just completely thrown me. So, rewind back. Make sure you join us either tomorrow evening or early Sunday for the preview show for the Newcastle game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sean, thank you very much as always for your company. Sam, thank you very much for your company as always. Always a pleasure to see both my bedrins come on and give me a bit of support. Thank you to everyone in the comment section. Wants to point FC, David Clark, you, to me, you're everything, the greatest song.
I think we even had a West Ham fan in.
We did. Daniela came on.
Daniela Stewart, thank you, Daniela.
Jose Guardiola Kane, thank you, Daniela, as Sean just mentioned. Thank you to our very own David Clark. Thank you.
I think there might have even been a Gooner in.
Yeah,
there was a secret Gooner. Of course, there's always secret Gooners when we
Tango
lose.
Merchant, Jay Ashraf, Brenny K74, I think was the Gooner. Dino Dinosaur. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. But as you're exiting, please mind the gap. No, don't mind the gap. Make sure you press that subscribe button and the like button, because as always, we'll bring you the content and we'll be back tomorrow. Guys, absolute pleasure. Hope you have a good Friday and a good Saturday before Tottenham Hotspur resume on Sunday. All I can say is, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs.
Develop,